Hey everyone, this is Greg from Mega Team. I'm really happy that you guys are here today because we are having our first Mega event. I hope that you guys will enjoy it as much as we enjoyed preparing for this one. And I can already see all of you in the chat. There's quite a lot of you, so please drop your city in the chat or time zone or whatever country. Let's see who's sacrificing some sleep for this. And also you can relax because everything is being recorded. So for everyone registered, we'll send the recording tomorrow. Okay, I can already see you're from everywhere and quite a lot of people from Poland as well. Thank you guys for coming. We really, really appreciate that. So I want to start with this one. A year ago, you could still argue whether AI belongs in serious software development. And I think that this argument is over. But here is what most of us, including myself, of course, did about it. So we took AI and we kind of duct taped it into the old ways of working. So we had this faster autocomplete, then we have agents, but we put it into the job that we already did. So the 4 people you'll see today, they stopped and they asked a better question. What if the work itself changed? What if we have to go back to the drawing board and rethink every layer of it instead of duct taping and redecorating the old ones? So that's for today. You'll see the foundation. You'll see some thinking paradigms, not the finished solutions. You'll see some theory and maybe some uncomfortable questions. And the goal is that if you leave with better questions that you come here with, that's great. That's amazing. And the complete answers you'll get in a 4-week program, Mega Dev program that will start on October 26th. But about it, I'll tell you something a bit later. Also tonight comes with some homework that I think that you'll actually want. This will be a repository of copy-paste examples from today's sessions. So you'll be able to feed them into your agent and just watch the ideas run within your harness, within your stack. So again, everyone registered will get it after the event in an email tomorrow. Okay, the sessions are pre-recorded, those ones that I'm going to give you now, partly for quality, but mostly because we didn't want to risk, agent loop stuck for 10 minutes and our time is strictly limited. But the Q&A after is fully live with humans, with all the mistakes that we can do. So make sure that you attend as well. And within the next hour, we'll see Theo with the session Thinking Bigger. You'll be, trying to survive. You'll also keep your environment more flexible with that. I really enjoy this one. Then we'll have Angie Jones from Agentic AI Foundation, and she will show you something for building for autonomy. So why better models aren't enough, and how teams give agents independence without giving up control. And then we'll have Ken Dots from Epic Web. He'll show you how to think in primitives. You'll get some better results with looser specs, and this one I can't wait. And also we'll have, last but not least, John Lindquist from Egghead. And John is the owner of the most beautifully unhinged setup that I've seen. So you have to see his designing with AI session. So 4 sessions back to back, and then all 4 of them live for a Q&A session. You can still stack questions in the chat. We'll try to answer during the sessions as well. And first, I'd like you to see a short clip that we've prepared for today.
This is for you, the one who stayed late until it finally worked, who shipped it, watched it break, and fixed it before anyone woke up, who built things nobody asked for, just to know if you could. You learned to think in systems. You cared about details no one would ever see. And then, almost overnight, everything changed. The machines write the code now, faster than any of us can read. Some call it the end of the story. We call it the best beginning there there's ever been. Because the problems got bigger, the ambitions got wilder, and someone still has to imagine, to judge, to care. Someone has to take all this power and build the digital world we actually want to live in. That someone was always you. You just needed the moment. This is it. It's time. It's time to rethink everything.
What's up, nerds? I'm Theo. I make a lot of YouTube videos about software dev and AI stuff, but today's different. This might seem like a normal video, but I promise it's the furthest thing from it, because I'm working with Mega Dev to make actual educational content. Instead of my usual covering of the news and commentary on the drama of what's going on in the space, I get to sit here and actually focus in on the things that work for me and my teams, as well as the engineers that I talk to every single day. I'm here to kick off Mega.dev with a quick intro of some of the things I've been thinking about as I build more and more with AI to try and set the scene for everything we're about to learn, both today with this live stream, but more importantly, long-term with all the fun things that we'll be doing throughout the course. Highly recommend signing up if you haven't yet. I'm sure there's links everywhere for you to find, but that's not what we're here for. What we're here to talk about is thinking bigger. I also want to talk a bit about how to avoid the slopocalypse as more and more slop is leaking into the stuff that we work in every day. But we'll get there after I talk a bit more about where we're at now and where I think we are going long term. In order to have that conversation, I think we have to first establish the pattern of software development as it exists today for most businesses and how I experienced it in my time at both Twitch and Amazon. It looks something roughly like this. A software development cycle starts with a user having a problem of some form. This could be a problem that is resolvable with a new feature, it could be a bug, it could be lots of different things, but the user has a problem. At some point, a product manager identifies this user and or this problem and decides to talk to the user or in other ways get communication from them, whether it's the user filed some support ticket or the product manager reached out and had a conversation. It could be lots of different things. But after that happens, usually the designer will have a convo with the product manager in order to spec out what it would look like to solve this problem, assuming that this problem requires an actual user interface change of some form. After the designer and PM have talked, they will usually have some concept of a mock or plan for what they want to have designed and built. And then the tech lead will come in and talk to both of them in order to turn this into a scoped set of tasks to be made, usually in the format of a set of Jira tickets, linear tickets, whatever systems you're using for tracking all these things. Then an engineer gets assigned these tickets. They write the code. Another engineer reviews the changes and finds some problems. Engineer 1 will come in and fix those mistakes and other things the engineer reported. Engineer 2 then approves and pulls in the product manager to review and make sure that everything is good based on the original plan. That product manager has some issues with the way that this problem was solved or this feature was created. The engineer 1 now has to go fix those things, which invalidates the review. So now engineer 2 has to re-review before the PM can take another look and confirm that things are good, and they can now finally ship. So why am I talking about this? I would hope most of us understand this cycle and have experienced something like it. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I want to ask, where are you using AI in this cycle today? What I have seen for the most part is people using AI for these portions. Whenever I say engineer 1 writes the code, that tends to be when AI comes in. After all of the inbound work is done for turning the issue into spec'd out work, and the designer has already designed the changes, the product manager has already planned the spec and like what's going to happen. Then once the ticket makes it to the engineer, that is the point where they start writing code, and then another engineer is reviewing. I've seen far too many companies where the only use of AI is in these written sections, where the engineer is writing code or fixing things based on the feedback that they got. And if that's the only place you're using AI, it's still benefiting you a ton. It's nice to have the code kind of write itself. It makes things so much faster. And if I'm being realistic here, most AI models and agents we can use today, like the frontier stuff, writes better code than the average engineer would in most scenarios. As long as it knows what to write, where to write it, and what its goals are, I've been incredibly impressed with what AI is capable of today. This is not how it worked even a few months ago. The speed this stuff is changing is unbelievable. And I think that the current way businesses work and individuals at these businesses work is based around how it used to work. The role of an engineer was to turn Jira tickets into code and then adjust that code as they got feedback. What does this mean now, though? Because I think agents can do so much more. If this bar here is the full software development lifecycle from user having a problem to problem is fixed, then right now, I would say a lot of the companies that I'm thinking of and the individuals I know at them, we highlight the green sections for where they're using AI. It looks something like this. Maybe if the company's really progressive, they also have the AI reviewers that are like AI reviewing code alongside the engineer who's doing the reviews. So maybe of the whole life cycle, if you're lucky, you have these handful of chunks where AI is doing some of the work. But also notice how I split these up, where there's a gap between each of the steps. Those gaps are real and they are blocked by humans, where an engineer gets the ticket and then they have to pipe the ticket, the code base, the context, and everything else to an agent to go make the changes. It makes the changes, files a PR, and now we're waiting on engineer 2 to decide they want to go review that code and then spin up an agent to do the review, find some obvious small mistakes and bugs, and then report that. And now we have to wait yet again for the other engineer to come in and make those changes. If these are two people sitting next to each other at a company, it's annoying, but fine. If these are two engineers on opposite sides of the world in different time zones, this makes a simple bug fix that's just like 100 lines of code or less take weeks at times because of how long the cycle is. If Eng1 builds a feature on Monday and then Eng2 doesn't look at it until Tuesday and gives some feedback late in the day, Eng3 is busy with meetings on Wednesday, so they don't get to code at all. And then on Thursday, they finally fix those things. Eng2 is busy on Friday or leaves work early. Now the next week comes along and they're finally starting to make real progress. What if we didn't have to do any of that, though? What if instead of all these segmented bars, we thought of things a little different? What if we thought about how we can use these agents to do multiple steps? And to be clear, what I'm saying here isn't that we should have AI replace the reviews from engineers and product managers, because that's just not where we're at today, especially at most businesses that need to make sure these things work before they ship. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm trying to encourage is the idea of getting more and more steps in a given workflow. Instead of just telling the agent to go fix this one file, tell the agent to look at the ticket and fix the whole problem. Maybe even tell it to test it in the browser and verify the changes. Maybe tell it to make a end-to-end test that fully verifies the bug and fails because the bug is still active, and then keep working until that bug passes. Maybe tell it to spin up sub-agents to give feedback throughout the development process so that it's less likely to make the mistakes that reviewers often catch. There are so many layers to how to do this too, and it's honestly become really fun for me. It feels like a new type of engineering that still scratches the same itch that writing code and solving bugs used to for me. Some of this can be solved just in the prompt. The way that you tell the models and agents what to do can fundamentally shift what ends they go to and how far they get before a human has to be involved again. There's other places that you could improve too, from giving the agent the tools it needs to verify its changes, whether it needs a browser, its own computer, a staging environment where everything is realistic but mocked data. Figuring out what the agent needs to actually test and verify its changes lets you go way further in these loops as well. Maybe some of the features or bugs that you work on touch multiple different code bases and the agent struggles to figure out what's in where. If you structure things properly on your machine or with a virtual environment where you are giving the right instructions to agents on where things are and how these parts relate to each other, you're more likely to be able to make changes where one prompt can go through a feature that touches lots of different things and leaves pull requests up in multiple different repos, clearly linking all together. I find this is where so many engineers get stuck, though. They are thinking of AI not as a coworker, so to speak. They're thinking of it as an alternative to their keyboard. They're letting the agent do the typing in their editor. They're not letting the agent own the process until it is ready to tap out and pull in a human. And all of that said, I think most of the steps that are in here are still valuable. I am not saying replace these steps. The same way if you had contracted out this feature or these changes, you would still want an engineer to look at them before you merge it. If you have a loop before that, though, if you have systems that allow your agents to verify their changes and know what is where ahead of time, you can let the agent go so much further before you come in, and those small bugs that result in those days, if not weeks of back and forth, can be resolved before they're even in your inbox ready for you to look at. When I say prompt bigger, this is what I'm referring to. Update app.tsx to use the new localization primitives found in this repo. If your prompt still looks something like this, where you're mentioning file names, passing resources that the model could hypothetically already know about, and not giving instructions on how to verify its changes or where to stop, you're still prompting like we're editing code with the agent inside of an editor where you highlight the code that it should change and say, make this change to it. And I get it. I do miss that era. I miss spending time looking up the code. And you will still have plenty of time to do that. What I'm encouraging here is for you to have your AI agents waste less of your time by writing bad code that doesn't work. If you do this all right, you should be able to focus more on the parts you care about, because by the time the agent is done, it has already finished all of the tedious stuff that we don't like dealing with. Centralize localization across all of our projects so that the same primitives are used consistently. I want to make sure that certain keywords are translated properly in all of the surfaces that are exposed to users. So make sure you validate this in multiple languages and make sure this set of keywords is translated consistently across all of the surfaces that matter. This prompt is literally bigger, but I think it will showcase what I'm talking about here. And yes, I'm in a cast, so I did have to whisper flow it. I'm sure you understand. Let's go through this one real quick. Centralize localization across all of our repos so that the same primitives are used consistently. I want to make sure that certain keywords are translated properly in all of the surfaces that are exposed to users. Make sure that you validate this in multiple languages and make sure the set of keywords is translated consistently across all of the surfaces that matter. The differences I want to call out here are the scope and the focused details. On one hand, I blew up the scope of this. Instead of saying, go edit this file and make this one change, I gave it a bigger instruction of making sure all of the things that matter have the changes to maintain the consistency that I'm looking for. And that's the other key piece here. I'm telling the model specifically what my goal is, not what I think it should do, rather what I want to have happen. Because sometimes, and I'm sure you've experienced this before, the tech spec for the feature that you're being asked to add or the report for the bug that you're trying to fix, the technical details in that don't always line up with reality. And I would much rather know what your goal was than what code you think should be changed. I would never describe a Jira ticket to a coworker based on what files I think should be touched. I would describe it based on what problem it is discussing and roughly how I think it should be solved. And you should talk to your agents the same way. It also helps a lot to give them ways to validate the changes that you're looking for them to make, something they can do to verify that they have completed the task as you intended. In this example, I specified the agent should validate the changes by using multiple languages and a set of keywords, obviously assuming I would have typed those in as like the things that matter for my brand, that it could go test in different surfaces and make sure the new translation layer is consistent across all of them. This type of big prompt is scary because you don't know what it will touch up front, but that doesn't mean it isn't useful or that you shouldn't experiment with it, because even if it touches more things than you intended, you can still just read them and decide what you want to do. Sometimes I find it helpful to just ask the agent, what did you touch? Or what do you think we're going to have to do to make all of this happen? And get a better idea the same way you would with a coworker. The back and forth about what it should be working on and what the goal is of the stuff that you're changing is incredibly valuable in steering your agents the right way. And here's where you have to talk a bit about the slopocalypse. Agents make writing code and filing PRs way too easy. In many ways, this is awesome. It makes the gap from issue reported to resolution seen by users way smaller. But it also means that you have significantly more pull requests to go through than ever before. It is really important to build systems to avoid this, as well as using AI to help you with it too. Let's say, for example, you have a ticket that would take 3 to 6 hours to actually make the changes for, and then the code review time would be 20 to 30 minutes, and then the testing and verifying the changes time is 15 to 20 minutes. I've had many a ticket in my career that I would say roughly fits this pattern. Well, if the 3 to 6 hours goes to 0, what happens to these other two numbers? I'll give you a hint, the answer is not great. A given PR may still take just as much time to review, but when you go from 2 or 3 PRs a day to 30 plus, because agents make it so much easier to file them, you end up spending all your time reviewing other people's slop and trying desperately to test it all. So the war on this part has already been won. Our focus needs to be these two. Agents have already sped up this 3 to 6 hours massively. So how do we use it to mitigate these other two now? How do we use agents to improve our review cycles so things get merged faster instead of slower? How do we use agents to verify our changes so we ship less bugs instead of more? How do we use agents to streamline where my time is going as I'm building every day so that I'm not wasting all my time on the miserable parts of the job where I'm reading through piles upon piles of slop? There are so many things you can do here, from tuning your agents to make better, more concise changes so that your reviews don't have to be as meticulous, to training agents to do reviews for you, not to replace you, but to augment you in your review processes, to building systems and code and tools and sandboxes that allow your agents to verify the changes and actually test things themselves. All of this is what we'll be covering throughout the course, and I'm sure that my fellow instructors have a lot to say about it today too. So make sure you keep watching and sign up for the full course if you want to learn how to use your agents for more than writing code.
We're all trying to figure out just how far we can take these agents. We know they can handle tasks inside of a code base. That's table stakes at this point. The goal now is autonomy. We want agents to take on meaningful engineering work and keep going without us coordinating every single step. We're putting a lot of faith in the frontier models, as if they alone are enough to achieve autonomy. And don't get me wrong, the models are good. They've come a long way and can pretty much figure out your complex code base without a lot of hand-holding. But engineering work doesn't always stay inside of the repo. So it doesn't really matter how good the model is if it can't access the context that it needs. At some point, the agent needs something from another system, and that's usually where we have to step in. We end up moving information or permissions between the agent and the rest of our systems. And as long as a human has to keep moving the work forward, we haven't built autonomous systems yet. What we've done is put a very capable agent inside of a system that still depends on us to get from point A to point B. If we want agents that we can delegate complete tasks to, we have to prepare the engineering system around them. Let's make this concrete. We have a customer who canceled their order, and our system refunded them twice. We don't know why yet. What we do know is that every time this happens, the company loses money. In the autonomous workflow that we've built, the incident system detects the problem and automatically starts a remediation agent. The agent gets the incident number and begins working on resolving the issue. The agent, which is using a high reasoning frontier model, clones the repo, which fortunately already has some guidance in it. The agentSMD file explains how the repo is organized, where that cancellation behavior lives in the repo, and also which tests the agent should run. There's also an incident response skill that tells it how to investigate the problem, how to add a regression test, how to make safe changes, and also how to verify its work. This is a great start to building context into the system itself. Let's see how the agent does. So the agent loads the skill, which gives it a process for investigating the incident, reproducing the failure, and verifying its work. The existing tests pass, but the agent spots the issue. If two requests overlap, both can get past that check and issue a refund. So using a TDD approach, it adds a regression test that sends the same cancellation twice at the same time. And as expected, the test fails because both requests reach the refund path. Now, it wants to make the smallest safe fix it can see, which is to have a request claim the event before issuing the refund and prevent any additional ones. So the agent runs the full test suite, all the tests pass, including the new one, and the bill passes too. It reviews its changes and it confirms that two overlapping requests now produce one cancellation event, one refund. The agent reports that it resolved the incident. This looks like a good fix. So the fix is deployed, and for a while, everything is running smoothly. And then another order is canceled, and the same thing happens again, even after we deploy that fix. So now we've got a bigger problem. This is now considered a step 1, and a human is paid to investigate it. So much for an autonomous system. So the engineer starts looking at what the agent changed, and honestly, the fix looks good. right? The agent found the race condition. It made the event claim atomic. All the tests are green. So now the engineer is scratching her head, wondering, why is this incident still occurring? So she downloads the trace from production. And of course, she's not about to manually dig through this, right? So she gives it to an agent to investigate. And it doesn't take long at all for the agent to figure out what the issue is. The two deliveries didn't land in the same process. So we're running two replicas. One delivery hit replica A, the other hit replica B. So while the fix was deployed to both replicas, each replica tracked the event in its own memory. So both claimed the event and issued the refund. But hold on, let's take a step back. Why did we have to page a human just to download the information and spoon feed it back to the agent? If we want autonomous systems, the human can't be the integration layer, right? They are far too valuable to be doing this kind of work. So there's an obvious lesson here. The agent should have known that this service can run across multiple replicas. And the fact that it didn't know this is a signal to us that we need to provide this information for future agents. So the first thing that we can do is update agents MD. So I hear some folks say that the models are so good now that you can just delete your agents MD. This is a prime example of why that is a bad idea, right? The file's purpose is to provide the agent with context that it doesn't already have. Sure, in the early days, the models weren't that great, so we needed a lot of hand-holding in this doc. So some of what we originally put in our agents MD, that's probably not necessary anymore. But no matter how good your agent is, it won't magically know facts that you don't provide, or at least give it a way to figure out. So this is exactly the sort of information that you want to put in an agent's MD. It's great context to make sure an agent has when it's working on these types of issues. So it belongs in the repo. But even with this update, agents MD can't provide access to the production trace, right? So that the agent could go and download this itself, right? And the remediation agent would need this if we really wanted to work autonomously without paging humans to feed it info. If only there were a way for the agent to access external systems. So we can connect the agent to the source through MCP. MCP gives an agent a standard way to discover and call tools that another system exposes. Something like a Honeycomb or a Datadog MCP server would be clutch here. You can also create your own. So at Block, we created hundreds of MCP servers that were custom to our business. Here, I'm using a production operations MCP, which is our company's internal incident response interface. And it gives the agent the incident, the sanitized trace, as well as our company's refund policy. It also exposes an independent replay, so the agent can test his fix against the production failure. That would have been really helpful if the agent had access to this after that first incident. Oh well, we live and we learn, right? So now the agent can pull the same trace that the engineer downloaded, and it can test its work without bothering the human. But of course, giving an agent direct access to production systems raises yet another question. What should it actually be allowed to do? So Agent Gateway is an open source project that sits between the agents and the services they call, including MCP servers. And it gives us one place to authenticate the agent and control which tools it can use. It also records every request, so we have a nice little audit trail of agent activity. So the production operations MCP server exposes several tools, but this particular agent doesn't need all of those just to resolve incidents. In fact, giving it too much access could be risky. So we know that it needs the sanitized trace, right? That's the information that the human had to give it after that first attempt. It would also help to give it the incident details, as well as the company's refund policy and the ability to replay. Okay? Those 4 tools let the agent investigate the incident and verify its fix without paging a human to move the information between the systems. So we'll have Agent Gateway block access to the rest of the tools. It's the raw trace because that might contain sensitive customer data or credentials. So we don't want to expose that. And the agent doesn't need permission to close the incident, right? The incident system can do that after confirming that the service has recovered. Okay, so with the new context and access, let's have the agent attempt to fix the new incident. The agent starts by cloning and looking through the repo. It still has the guidance in Agents MD and as well as that incident response skill, which are helpful, but now it can dig even further for the root cause. So it asks the production operations MCP server for the sanitized trace. And right here, we can see the piece that it was missing before, the 2 replicas. So now the agent is pretty certain of what the real issue is. But just to be 100% positive, it runs the replay. And yep, it sees exactly when and why the system produced 2 refunds. So before the agent touches anything, it's already reproduced the production failure using a check that lives outside the repo. Okay, so now the agent has a good idea of what the fix should be, but it notices there's a tool to check the company's refund policy. So just to be safe, it double checks that this reasoning that it has aligns with the business rules. And now that everything is crystal clear, the agent is comfortable to apply the fix, which is to change the service to claim the event in shared storage before issuing the refund. That way, only one replica can win the claim. Okay, it runs the repository test, which look good. And in addition to the repo test, the agent can also run that production replay with its fix to see if it will truly solve the issue. And yep, this time, one event is processed, one refund is issued. Perfect. Now, notice what happened around the agent. MCP gave it the production information and the external check, right? Agent Gateway made sure that it could only use the tools that we approved, and it recorded every request. Now, it's worth noting that this is the exact same agent using the exact same model, right? And the reason it was able to actually fix the issue this time was because we prepared the system with what the agent needed to work autonomously. The first time, the agent only had the repo guidance from Agents MD and the incident skill. With that, it was able to find the bug, it was able to make a reasonable fix, but it couldn't really see what was happening in production. Autonomous systems must be supplied with context, access, feedback, and control. So the production trace gave the agent that additional context. MCP gave it access to the systems that it needed, and Agent Gateway limited that access. And the repository test, as well as the production replay, gave it feedback, right? So it could tell whether the fix actually worked. And our gateway gave us the control via authentication, tool limits, and records that we can audit. So I'll close by sharing some lessons from the maturity model I developed when leading AI enablement for Block's 3,500 person engineering org. Most companies start their journey by measuring whether engineers are using AI tools and whether they're bringing agents into their workflows. That's a good first step, but as we saw, it's not enough to substantially move the needle, right? What we needed was system readiness, because autonomous delivery only becomes possible when we have both people working with agents and in systems that are prepared for agents. So I know that I've been talking a lot about autonomy, and I also know that can sound like we're trying to engineer people out of engineering. We're not. But if we want agents to take on meaningful work without us having to coordinate every little step, then we need to ensure the systems they operate in are ready for autonomy. As agents take on more of the execution, engineers become responsible for designing and improving the system. We decide what the agent can access, what it has to prove, how much risk is acceptable, and when it has to stop. So if I can leave you with just one challenge, it's to find the places within your own agentic workflows where a person still has to carry context or permissions between steps. Those are the places to start building for autonomy. Thanks so much.
Hey everybody, it's Kent C. Dodds, and it is time to talk about making you a mega developer. Here we're going to be thinking in primitives, how to make your agents produce better results with looser specs. I need to have total control over my agents, Kent. All right, let's jump right into one of the first prompts that I want to share with you. I'm going to share a bunch of prompts of things I'm telling my agents to do. So here's one of the first ones. This is a spec you can actually say in a single breath. I want people to be able to connect their Kodi account to Discord so we can give them a special role in the Kodi Discord and they can use Discord to log in. How do you recommend we go about doing this? And then I had a little conversation with the agent and then I said, go. I said, okay, do whatever you can autonomously. And when I wake up, I'll look at your progress and follow the manual steps you need me to do to finish the work. And I knew that there would be a couple of manual steps, but it's those manual steps that you want to try and get out of your face. Try and get yourself out of the loop. And this doesn't mean that like, oh, well, now we're just going to defer all decision making to our agents. No. This means that you make all the decisions up front and then you give the agent the autonomy to go out and build the decisions that you have made. So this is what we're talking about. And this ended up working out super well. And it's interesting because prompts like this have kind of a couple ways that they can go. If you don't have any good primitives, then the bot or the agent is going to go and make a bunch of bad decisions and it's going to duplicate work. It's going to you've all seen this. It's going to not end up good. But if you have the right primitives, then things are going to go much smoother. And so I actually see this as like people who don't have the right primitives think that they need to have this giant spec to get the agent to do what they want because the agent is going to go off and do all sorts of bad things. And the solution is not a giant spec, but instead really good primitives intentionally designed and built for the product that you are building. So here's the entire thesis here. The tighter you have to specify, that's an indicator that your primitives are not good. So the worse or less findable your primitives are. So a good playground lets you give a job, not a massive spec. So that is why primitives matter so much. So what is a primitive? It's the smallest unit of meaning in your code base or available as a tool for your agent. So it's a named capability the system exposes. It's composable without re-implementing how it works. So that's not necessarily every function in your code base. It's also not just like 400 lines in your agent's MD file. It's really just if the agent has to reinvent something, it was not a primitive that they could use. And most of the feature work that your agent is doing, or most of the things your agent is doing for you, should probably be composing existing primitives rather than adding new ones or making things up. So what is like a tangible example of all of this? Well, here's a bunch. You can pause the video and look at these. But it really kind of goes all over the spectrum of your application as far as the stack is concerned, and also even the tools that your agent can use. So, and also there's even layers. So you can have like React for your front end. That is a primitive that you build on top of for components, and those individual components can be primitives. And then on top of that, you can have other components that compose those things together. You have your router and how you do routing, all of that. So that's like the front end. And then on the back end piece, you have your other primitives like your data model and your authorization schema and how you manage authorization and your RBAC controls and all of the utilities that are around that. And some of these things are primitives that are built on top of primitives, and others are like completely separate things. And then again, your tools. So I have Kodi. I built Kodi as a mechanism for connecting my agent to all sorts of things and giving it the ability to make its own primitives within Kodi so it can be really, really efficient and effective working in that environment. And you're going to see a couple of examples where Kodi was really helpful for me. In fact, that first prompt, Kodi was able to give my agent access to Discord and allow my agent to act autonomously inside of the Discord as well. So that is what a primitive is, and those are some examples. So how do you design good primitives? So here's your test for whether you have good primitives already. Can a junior agent take a one-sentence job and compose primitives to produce a good outcome? And if it can't, if it invents new primitives or something like that, then the primitive is missing, it's hidden, or it's worse than writing a new thing by itself in the first place. So you don't want to have a situation like that. And in fact, after the agent does work, you want to see what did it do with the existing primitives that I have. And that is going to be a really good tell on how good those primitives are. And the better and better you make those primitives, the better your software factory is going to be at creating really great software. So here's what primitives do over the lifetime of a primitive. It's not just make the primitive and now it's good. You're going to be modifying and deleting and expanding and combining primitives all the time. You do not want to just like have this primitive that lives there and it's always just that's the way that it is. You are going to have these things evolve, and you are going to be very intentional about how those primitives work. And the only way for you to be able to do that is product engineering, really understanding the product. What is this product for? What are the primitives that suit this product best, as well as like the product vision, where we're going? What is the data model that we want to have? All of that. That is your job as a product engineer, is taking the product decisions and putting that to paper or to computer, to bytes, with the system that you are designing and the primitives that it has available to it. So here's another example prompt. I have another product called Kodi Video, where people can create little videos for themselves on their device, and you can pay $1 for that and get some more features, and that is transferable to any of your devices. And we had one user who sent me an email. So I said, there's an email from John about redeeming an existing purchase from another device. Fix it for John immediately and draft a reply as if you are me. Now, I definitely do this. I do read those. I don't just send them without making sure that it is in my voice and all that stuff, but it's helpful. And what's cool about this is that the primitives available include my Google package that is inside of Kodi, so that the agent doesn't have to guess at the REST endpoints or whatever. There's a package with utility so that it can just call. And then there's also a package for Stripe, and so it's able to issue the refund, because John ended up buying a second license for the other device and he didn't have to do that. So we can issue the refund in Stripe. And then it also was inside the code base, and so it was ultimately able to create a much better workflow for redeeming your purchase on another device, so that you don't have to like look up the Stripe receipt. And in fact, they didn't receive a Stripe receipt, and so I was able to have Kodi get the Stripe receipts get sent when people buy those things. So this works out really well. And that is only really possible because I had all the necessary primitives for getting this sort of thing fixed. So I did, the agent did come back with a recommendation of what to do, and I said, yeah, go ahead and go and do that. And so it's not necessarily a one-off or a one-shot, but if you look at Kodi Video, it's and specifically redeeming on another device, it works really, really well. And this is the sort of prompt that I give to create those kinds of features, because I have really good primitives. Another example here, you want to be very intentional about the primitives that you have in here. So here I had an idea in Kodi for allowing you to have like one-off blocks of code that subscribe to events, rather than having those be saved in packages, because there's some ceremony around that. So I actually had this idea right before I went to bed. I just fired it off at an agent and we talked about it a little bit more. But this is a new primitive. This is like, we cannot do this currently. I really want to make sure that we can, that this is something that I want to be intentional about. So I said, I want one-off blocks of code that subscribe to events and aren't part of packages, I think. Don't do it. Let's talk about it first. So this was Grok 4.6 that I was sending this to, and Grok 4.6 is just very eager and errs on the side of action, which I really appreciate lots of the time. But when we're talking about primitives, you really just want to talk it out. And I ended up not doing this primitive. I'm deferring it, and we might end up doing something like this in the future. But I'm just not quite sure that that's the shape that I want it to take. And this is your job as the product engineer, is making sure that you don't just accept every single possible primitive in your code base, but be more intentional about what you allow to get into that soup of primitives. Because if you don't, then you end up with primitives that are either too loose or too rigid and not very intentionally designed, and they'll be used in the wrong context. And so you do want to be very intentional. And then taking it a step further, you also want to delete primitives as much as possible. I call this primitive pruning. So you're gardening inside of your garden of primitives. So I said, I kind of want to get rid of the values primitive in exchange for package storage and memory and repos. Look at production data. We love to get rid of primitives that are unnecessary. So that last line is just helping the agent get into my same mind space of like focusing on like, okay, this is an objective that we have. We want to see if we can get rid of this. This is kind of our hypothesis, is that we can get rid of this. And this is what we're trying to go and do. And then look at production data. That piece is an important piece because I want this to be a data-driven decision. Sometimes removing a primitive is very, very hard. Even if you want to, it's difficult to get rid of. And so I want to look at production data. Maybe I already know how widely used this feature is, but the agent doesn't. And so I'm going to tell it to go gather that information so that we have the same context to make sure we make this decision correctly. And also just like for this particular feature, Values was just an ability for any agent to have like a key value store that's like global across everybody. And it was filled up with all kinds of garbage in my own coding. And I was like, this is probably wrong. I made this primitive before these other ones existed. So let's prune that one back. These other primitives are now better at solving the use case that value solved than this was. And so now we were getting rid of the values primitive, and the agent actually gave me a whole like migration period that it lasts a month. And so we'll have time to get things over to the new mechanisms because it's a little harder to get those moved over. And so, yeah, just this deprecation strategy. It's pretty cool. And the agent was able to do this after just a short conversation talking about getting rid of this particular primitive. So you want to get rid of those. You also want to be very careful about like entitlements and cost and sustainability of the business. This is another thing you have to do as a product engineer, is think about those sorts of things. So ask your agent about the cost of these particular primitives. Make sure you don't get a denial of wallet situation that makes your business not sustainable. And we ended up actually getting rid of the persisted service primitive because there were other primitives that served those use cases better. And the little slice that this primitive served that those others didn't, it didn't even serve that slice very well. So we got rid of that, and we have other mechanisms for doing similar things. So yeah, be very intentional about your primitives. And how agents are using primitives has 3 failure modes. The first is it can't find it. So you fix that by improving your routing. You have like your root file, your agent's MD, is going to point to all of the places where you have documentation. And that documentation is going to describe the available primitives. And so that way the agent can go and find things as it needs to. It also, if you find that agents are inventing new primitives that, oh, I thought you were going to use this button, but you did your own thing or whatever, like you're not using the combo box we've got, it's probably because that primitive is too rigid or it couldn't find it or something. And so that's a signal to you to go and make it easier to find and less rigid. And you can just talk to the agent. Why didn't you use this primitive? And you can work on improving that. And then another one is like you don't know whether the agent used a primitive or expanded one or whatever. And so your PRs should include that. And so I actually have a video on my Better with Kent series on my YouTube channel where I talk about the system diff that you should be looking at rather than the code diff. And so you should take a look at that. This every PR comes with a diagram that shows what the system looks like with these changes, and also a summary categorization of what this PR is doing to the primitives. And for like low effort things, it's able to do a lot more autonomously for me. So also architectural decision records are a really great place for you to put in the decisions that you're making about these primitives. You want to make these steer the agents in a right direction. It's more of like, we're not doing this, we are doing this, and this is why, rather than just like a diary of everything that you're possibly doing. But yeah, you want to help guide future agents to understand, like, maybe it feels natural to go in this direction, but, oh, I see there's an ADR there. We're not going that direction. I'm going to go this way instead. So we could dive deeper into that. That's a really good one. And so now that I've got all these good primitives, I can have my agent go check my inbox and perform something as a result of that. I can have it do stuff in my Discord. I can have it ship things autonomously for me. I have self-healing software with the triage ability. So Sentry will find root cause analysis of issues and make a new Cursor Cloud Agent, and then the Cloud Agent will ship it if it's a low risk thing. It's very, very cool to just like wake up and see that a bunch of things have been fixed for me automatically because I have good primitives. So this is your homework. I'm going to have you write or give an agent a 1-sentence job in your actual repo and just see what it does. And if it's composing good primitives, then you're in a good place. And if it's not, and it's inventing new things, then maybe you got some work on your playground. So the thing that I want you to take away from is you want looser specs. That's what you're trying to go for. It's not about laziness because I don't want to type a lot of stuff. It's just proof that the system is well designed for that product and that agents can find the primitives that they need and that those primitives are suitable. With that, that's going to be all for me. Thank you so much for being here with Mega.dev. We'll see you in the workshops later.
Let's explore some of the concepts around prompting with images. For example, if you are looking at your project and you find something you want to change, like this order for today button, at any time you can grab a screenshot, you can draw an arrow to the thing you want to change, copy that to your clipboard and just come in and paste it. Then you could say, please propose some options for this button. I don't like its current style. And because you passed an image in with a red arrow, this button can be inferred simply by the AI model understanding the red arrow is this. So if we scroll back up, you can see some of the options it gave, a split label button or a compact clay pill. And it obviously found and understood that order for today was the button and knows where it is in the code base, even though this has a storybook with 15 apps inside of it. It was able to easily track that down. The level of effort I put into prompting that was essentially zero. I didn't have to think, please give me some options for the order for today button in the Hearth app that's inside of the circle or on and on. All I had to do was say the word this. Similarly, if you grab a screenshot like this, and I draw an arrow to one part of the nav, and then I change the color to green, I draw another arrow over here, I can copy this to the clipboard, paste that in, and just dictate, let's move this nav element over to where the green arrow is pointing. And these models are smart enough to be able to infer from where arrows are pointing where things should move to. And you can draw arrows all over the place and create highly specific prompts with very little effort. And one of my favorite things about it is that I have, with CleanShot at least, a history of all of my past screenshots, which I can bring back in. And I have these visual differences of the way it used to be versus the way it is now. And I can look at visual representations of how I wanted things to change over time, which is much easier and faster than reading through a bunch of prompt history or even trying to search through past conversations. Then you can even go back and restore them and edit them and do something else. Draw whatever arrows you want and different colors to say, no, I didn't mean that, I meant this, and have as much fun as you want annotating and dictating how you want things to be. And even though this didn't work quite perfectly because it moved the entire navigation to the right instead of just our bakery, that's my fault for only saying navigation element rather than being specific enough. I could just follow it up with a, no, sorry, I only meant the our bakery should move to the far right of the navigation. And you can see now it's reordering the navigation instead. So we have our bakery on the far right. Now, one tip I highly recommend if you have a mouse with a bunch of buttons, or at least a keyboard shortcut, is that you can assign a mouse button to trigger the screenshot behavior. And with some of the automation tools like Carabiner and others, you can assign it to automatically start dragging. So capturing an area of my screen is as easy as just dragging here while pressing one of my mouse buttons. So it's really just anywhere my mouse is, I can just click and drag, and I have a screenshot of that. I'm already in arrow mode, since that's what I primarily use. And then I have another button on my mouse that will hit the Command-Shift-C shortcut, which triggers the copy to clipboard. So I'll press that on my mouse. That way, all that's left for you is to jump back to whatever you use for your harness or app and just paste that in. So I can take screenshots all day long, just dragging through various parts of whatever I want to focus on and have it be one of those primary interactions I use on my computer. So I'm not thinking about it. I'm not reaching for it. It's just always there for me. Now, image prompting can also mean taking an image, annotating the image, copying the image, pasting the image, and then using that image to serve as a reference for other images. So if I say, please generate an image of this button as if it were a piece of bread, then many of the models like Codex and Gemini, unfortunately not Claude, have the ability to use image generation tools to create images and explore various visual ideas without needing to write out a lot of components or layouts or anything like that. And you can generate as many images as you want. And then once it's done, you'll have this nice image of order for today on top of a tasty little roll. Then from there, I could take this and continue to iterate on it, make it look more like a button. I could tell the model to extract this into a button component and move it back into the site and play around with kind of image to image work, where for visuals, you're not working so much with code anymore. You're not working so much with layouts. You just let the models handle that, and you can focus more on iterating with images. And if you dive deeper into it, you can start building your own custom tools around generating images. This is a tool I've been working on, which uses Codex and Anti-Gravity and Grok and all of my image generation models with their subscriptions, because it's just part of the subscription. It's part of the same subscription you get when paying for the coding agents. You can prompt for all sorts of ideas for sites that you might want to build out. So with any of these results, you could come in and either copy the prompt that generated this image or copy the actual image or the path to the image. Just kind of build up this little image studio that you can use from all of your past image generations. Again, kind of operating in the spirit that a history of images is much easier to navigate than a history of text. Then if I want to generate some things, I just go into generate. I can pick all of the models I want to use. I can pick how many variations I want to generate. I can pick a reference image. Let's say I just want to grab our current mockup here and then paste that in. Then I could just say a fancy website for a bakery, fire this off, and start seeing all of these images generating in parallel across all the different models. And you'll start to see the images coming in as the models finish. So from Codex, a couple from Grok, and they're all staying fairly true to the image reference that we gave it. We didn't give it much else to go on, but we could add multiple images. We could add prompt improvement and obviously spend a lot more time on the prompt itself. And then we just have a history of images we could look through of everything that we generated. And I will be releasing an app like this in our main workshop. I built this one with the native SDK, but I'm regretting that decision due to things like scrolling performance and some of the rendering issues I'm having, and just haven't had the time to convert it to a better tech stack. Now, any visual app you build like this should obviously also have an MCP or some way to call it from your agent for plenty of scenarios around generating tons of images and tons of variations as you're iterating on concepts and ideas. And some of the models even support a tweak concept where you can build a tool to grab a specific region that you want to change and leave the rest of the image untouched. And again, just emphasizing you get this all included in your subscription with these models. Then that brings us to what if you don't have a reference? What if you don't have something to start from? It is fairly trivial to build up something like an inspiration board. This is one that I tossed together just by scraping a ton of popular websites. You can see there's actually 12,000 little cards here of websites and concepts that you can go through. And if you want to, you can filter by various colors. And then you just kind of scroll around and see if there's anything that sticks out to you. If something does, you can copy its style. This scraped some of the CSS and some of the font descriptions and layouts. You grab that and you could drop it into the generator and generate something that's kind of close to that style. You could drop it into your agent and have it build something that's kind of close to that style. And you could bring in screenshots and whatever and kind of iterate and play with those ideas. The idea is just to encourage a sense of exploration and discovery. Instead of sitting in front of a blank sheet of paper, you can click things, you can move things around, you can do different views where you can zoom in and out and move things around. And just make your tools a bit more fun to interact with and more engaging for you and for the people you're working on your project with, so you could be really aligned with what you're trying to build, rather than just hoping the agent figures out what's on all of your minds. You can get more precise references and ideas put down into your prompts and into your style guides. And once you have your inspiration and some styles in place, you can drop them into a tool like Impeccable, which has lots of great skills for keeping the designs in line with the original vision. And as you can tell from the 62,000 stars on GitHub, there's a lot of people who are using this, and it's a proven tool. But then if you're using images, you can take it into your agents and even ask for a pixel perfect recreation of that image as a project. And what I mean by that is in this pixel perfect project with a storybook in it that we launched at the very beginning, each of these 15 sites in these storybooks were created from images. And you can look at the fact that you can resize them and they're mobile friendly and desktop friendly. And all the various pieces, which were originally images, are now mock-ups that you can use and play with. And obviously I just did a completely random set of sites and components just to see how well I could get it to be pixel perfect as it went along. But even in just an afternoon, it's able to take an image like that and recreate that as a site. There's a write-up of this whole process that I can share in some of the resources where you can look at the before and after of this and the before and after of all of these and the prompts and the entire project. And you can play around with this as well and compare some of the reference images to the final UI. And I'm not going to say that all of these are perfect, like this is the reference image, that's the final UI, but they get really close. And the thing is, this tech is only going to get better. So the more that we can accept the reality of images in, applications out, the more you can start customizing your workflows and being ready that once that next model comes along, whether it's next week or next month, you're already in a much better mindset for exploring and playing with a lot of ideas and seeing what sticks, because code is free, ideas are cheap, and it's up to you to really create things that stand out, that appeal to your crowd, that are that notch above everything else. And that comes from an understanding of everything that's out there and everything that's possible to see how you can take it all and push it all to the next level. For example, have you even considered that you can generate custom fonts now? All of these fonts are AI generated. They're based on derivatives of open source fonts. So this monocode font is embedded in this site, and you could download that, any of these fonts are all AI generated based on other fonts that exist out there and just tweaked a little bit. And very soon we're going to be able to generate images with beautiful fonts in them and then create custom fonts from those images. I'm fairly certain I could do that today. I just haven't dedicated the required tokens to make that happen. And this brings me to iteration speed, where there's this wonderful framework called GPUI, which is a component framework for Rust for building desktop apps and so on. And for the longest time, I was generating components in Rust and waiting for them to compile and trying my best to tweak all the little things, but it has nothing like the Chrome DevTools or any sort of storybook system to work with. So building basic UIs like this was extremely difficult. But now these are all Rust components, and you can see these mockups of existing applications built on top of this Rust framework. But the key to unlocking a design experience, even though I tried multiple times to build a storybook for GPUI, the trick was to actually just build a web to GPUI converter that can take existing storybooks or existing component frameworks and translate them from HTML and CSS into components in Rust. And that changed my design cycles from days to seconds, because the design iteration speed for the web is unlike anything else, how quickly you can change something and see the design updates reflected. And I can share some of the tooling that I built around this, but I just noticed today there's even more people investing in projects that take React components and bind them to GPUI. So you don't have to lose all of those skills you built up for the web, all of those design skills, if you want to use them for fast desktop and mobile and watch and auto and all those sorts of apps. Just build them how you want to build them and have AI translate them over. That way your source of truth and your design studio has a maximum iteration speed. And that actually goes for anything you're building. Just build the web reference first, where you can build with maximum speed, and then translate it into whatever you want so that you have that perfect reference, and just let AI port it on over. My final tip is to not sleep on video. I can record my screen right here, and I can turn on my software that allows me to draw arrows on top of the screen, and I can say, let's move this down over here where the red arrow is pointing to, and then let's move this down over to where the yellow arrow is pointing to, and then let's move this, where the green arrow is, over to where the blue arrow is pointing to. And I'll stop the recording. Then in my terminal, I can run a tool that I'll paste the video into. I will transcribe the audio. It'll look for all the times I said the word like here or this. It'll extract some images from it and turn that into a prompt I can pass into my agent. So you can see it extracted the transcript here. It created all of these various screenshots. If I preview these, all of these will be passed into my prompt. And all I really had to do was talk and annotate the screen, and I have a prompt that has a lot of incredibly valuable context to send over to my agent.
And we're back. I hope that you enjoyed the sessions. There were a lot of different topics, kind of the foundation of what we took and built on top of that, the whole Mega.dev program. And I want to tell you a bit more about Mega.dev right now, but don't worry, I'll be quick. This will be the only ad today, and it will take me like 5-7 minutes. And then we'll have live Q&A with all 4 of them. So please prepare this Grill Me skill from Matt Pocock, which I absolutely love to ask them very difficult questions. Instead of me telling you, I'll show you. This is the Mega.dev website. And Mega is a 4-week program for developers who already work with agents. It starts on October 26th. It will last until November 23rd. And this is 4 weeks, and each author owns the week that they know best. So Theo will teach you how models and agents actually work. So this might be basic, but it's not. It's very interesting angle on that. And you can see all of the lessons here and the goal, so you can understand better AI and deeply enough to reason beyond the tools that you use currently. And you can click on each of the weekday, and you can see the context of the day and what will be delivered within the lesson. And the lesson will be usually Theo's video, and it will be accompanied by text and also tools for your agent and some repository that you can use alongside. So later on, we'll have Angie showing you agents that you can actually rely on. And the goal here is to shape and build the systems, the agentic systems that deliver value with bounded supervision, also for bigger teams and for enterprises. Then we'll have next week, the week 3 is a product week with Kenzie Dodds, and he will show you some direction and how to direct AI towards meaningful systems that basically can be verified and can ship as production. It's very, very interesting, and you can see the topics like translating intent into agent work or verifying the outcomes. It's very, very interesting. And week 4 is the takeoff week. It's by John Lindquist from Egghead. You will be able to build autonomous systems that operate, recover, and improve over time. It will be a bit more advanced, but I bet that after the first 3 weeks, you'll be able to grasp all the topics. And finally, we have Adam. He doesn't have his own week, but he is the curriculum designer, and he makes sure that every lesson and content is within one framework, that it matches one another, and the assets and tooling and challenges and everything accompanying the lessons is perfectly created for you. So what you walk away with is around 20 author-led lessons, and also a live workshop with Q&A that happens every week, and also live real repositories and some installable tools. So things that you can plug in directly to your setup, your harness, and you can keep it. And today's example repo that will deliver tomorrow is exactly the kind of artifact that I mean. So you'll be able to see it. Then you have 12 themes run through the program, and each one of them is a skill card that you can unlock by demonstrating the skill, not really by reading the lesson and watching the video. All 12 earn the Mega Developer Certificate that you can get. And you can fail to earn it. That's what makes it worth something, okay? So who's it for? Well, honestly, if tonight was interesting enough, it felt like something that you want a bit more, and also the practical side of it, I think that's the program for you. If it was a bit too deep, please start with the free stuff that we have, because on Mega, every week, if you subscribe for the newsletter, we'll deliver drops, a kind of like really nice practical articles that can set the stage for Mega. Then we have the numbers. So right now we are in the pre-sale price. So it's absolutely the best offer that you can get. It's $790 or 2 payments of $395. We only have 1 week left of this pre-sale, and it ends at September 3rd. Then we'll have $990 and $1,290. We don't have any timers, any theatrics. The prices goes up, just simply the pre-sale ends, and that's it. That's the whole story. So if you already know that you want in, I think this week is simply the best time to do it. And so nobody wonders how it works. You just click the price, and this is the whole flow. You put in your data. You can also pick different currencies before, and you select the installments or one-time payment, and it basically will take only a minute, including the invoice that you will get, your company invoice. And if you want to request team access, which we have, and we already have many amazing teams joining Mega, you can fill in the form on the website or just email us at hello@mega.dev. So no pressure from me beyond that. The recording, the repo, all the links land in your inbox tomorrow, so you can decide with confidence within a week with best price, not with any of the countdowns. And if you have any questions about the program, please ask in the chat. I'll be happy to answer all of them. Okay, now the good part, the Q&A. Let's bring them all in.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Hi. So we are here. Great to see you all. I think the first place where you all came together, guys, the 4 of you, and me having the privilege to host you here. Thanks so much for the sessions. They were amazing, and the chat was blowing with great reviews, and everyone is very excited. So guys on the chat, please post your questions. I do have some questions here prepared, so we'll go and start from the first one. I'll try to display them for a sec, and then I'll give you a chance to answer. Whoever wants to answer first. There is a question: what does this course not cover that you are digging into now and is interesting to you all? Who's first?
I can say.
Okay, John, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Real-time audio. I'm loving using real-time voices and chatting with agents in real time and having like conversations with multiple voices and having it all like capture ideas and I don't know, kind of the step away from the computer aspect of programming.
I think what's more interesting is what are the things that are going to happen between now and November that we will be talking about that don't exist yet. Yeah, it changes so fast.
I'm playing with what might be one of those right now. I've been experimenting more with swarms where you have a bunch of agents spun up into a system for them to communicate with each other while they're tackling like really big tasks. I am surprisingly far in a port of TSGO to Rust that I'm waiting for an update on now. So stuff like that like isn't practical yet, but is close enough that it's fun to play with.
Awesome. Angie, any ideas that you were exploring now that are beyond the first scope of the course?
No, I'm going to bring everything.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so let me jump to the next one. For someone job hunting right now with limited budget for agent tooling, what's actually working to get noticed? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I'll say like all of the tools that I used in my session are free and open source tools. And there's decent enough models as well that are open. Kimi, DeepSeek, those work with some of the open source harnesses. So like if you have a limited budget, you can definitely still do stuff. I actually work with a contributor on one of our open source projects who's a student who has like no money and is building like their own harness and all sorts of incredible stuff with like $0.
I do want to jump on the Kimi part quickly, just because most of the open weight models, especially Kimi, don't end up being cheaper than frontier stuff like Sol in actual tasks. I think people get too mixed up with the token price and don't realize that when the model is 4 times less efficient, that being 2x cheaper actually ends up more expensive when you do the math. So be careful with the open weight models. Just because they're open source and just because they're cheaper on paper does not mean the real world cost is better. And to this day, the best deal you can get if you're trying to maximize what you're getting for your money is one of the subsidized subscriptions from a lab like OpenAI and Anthropic. All of that said, if you're good at hunting for like what is currently being offered for free or cheap, there are things like the Muse Spark contributor tier, which is effectively free in any use because it's so absurdly cheap at 20 cents per mil out and relatively efficient too. If you put the time in to do some hunting like this, you can find surprisingly good value, even with stuff like the Ox Alpha model that's currently available on OpenRouter and OpenCode entirely for free with basically unlimited usage. Finding things like that is very valuable, but the questions seem to be steered more towards the idea of like, how do you stand out in this environment, especially when you don't have the money? Try to make some novel wedge, so to speak. Like if you feel like others aren't covering the like, how do you cheap out with your AI? Talk about that. Make some like posts, make some blogs, make some media, make some noise around the things that you are finding that you're able to get work done with. Show what you did with it and what like or and how you saved the money that you saved. There's a lot of opportunity for people like you to make media about these things. Take advantage of it.
I would add to that too, that a lot of people are doing things very inefficiently. They're asking the model to do the same thing over and over and over again when they could just turn that into deterministic code. And so like this could be a way to stand out as well. A lot of companies are starting to ask the question of, are we getting more value than it costs? And so if you can be the kind of person who can increase the amount of value with the same amount of cost, or decrease the amount of cost, then I think that's a valuable thing as well. But don't go too crazy on that either, because just because something costs a lot doesn't mean that it's necessarily a thing to not do. You can increase the value as well. So look for opportunities to increase the amount of value you get per dollar. And I think deterministic code is a good way to do that. And that's part of why, for those of you who know about the Cody project I'm working on, that's a big part of what Cody does for me.
Actually, the cool part is that you guys are all working on something very practical here. So like Cody and T3 chat and stuff like that. So it's amazing to get all the knowledge from you. And we are really happy that we can learn from it. And a lot of people in the chat are really happy about the answers as well. Kent nails it. And also there is like one nice comment. I wanted to give massive thanks for the Agentic AI daily updates on what is happening every day. Love it. Thank you guys. Thanks for sharing all of that. There are some questions about Mega specifically, and I think that I can take all of those questions once our authors will answer their questions. So first, I will select some of the questions that are really, really nice in terms of what they can say about, for example, pair programming. And at the very end, I will stay with you guys and I'll answer all of the questions about Mega. So how do you all think about the role of pair programming in this new age? It feels incredibly productive, pairing with people, but now it's awkward when we're just waiting on the AI.
I'll jump in really quick. So first of all, if you're waiting on the AI, then you're probably not using enough agents. So like I am never waiting anymore. I send one off and then I go off and do another one. And then I'm constantly looking for ways that I can get myself out of that loop so that they can run more autonomously for longer and provide more value out of that. As far as pair programming, I was never really into it, but I saw John smile when the question popped up. So I'm kind of curious what made him react that way.
Oh, I would just say, like, go for a walk with someone, go for a hike, go out to dinner. Like, pair programming is going to be the places where you find the real world problems and you talk about life, you talk about the things that agents can solve. And instead of focusing on, maximizing business value for your company or whatever, finding those real human problems that agents can really help with that people haven't really addressed yet. We're kind of entering a new era of solving anything and everything you kind of come across and just having those real discussions of, hey, what could be better in your life?
I will say that in the pattern of trying to learn through distilling knowledge from another person, which is what I think was the best part of paired programming, is you could level yourself up to where the coworker was much faster. You can still get that with AI. If you ask it to write a ton of code, it will take 15 or 20 minutes, and that means you're not going to be having that back and forth. But if you ask it to explore something and then it comes back and then you ask follow-up questions, it will almost always be immediate because it has the info in its context. So once you get it primed with the info you want to talk about, I find that it's actually really nice to just go back and forth. It's almost surprising how quick it can respond to those cases.
I also like a lot of the human agent collaboration spaces I'm seeing coming out. So like Buzz, for example, where the humans are in a Slack environment. You bring your agents in there as well, and then you kind of jam on stuff together. So I'm thinking pair programming becomes more of something like that, right?
Cool.
Yeah, I just want to throw one other thought in there. I really liked how John started his response, where go on a walk, go on a hike. And of course, you can talk about programming, but also take advantage of the advancements in our ability to ship faster software by living life too.
That's great. Okay, next quick one. Is there some hyped concept in the harnesses or AI in general that you think is or was a miss? A dead end, like a metaverse of AI?
Brag for code lookup. We had a lot of this back in the day where we assumed that the AI would ever be able to find what it needs in the code. So we need to build these complex systems to let the AI know what code matters. This is actually a big thing Cursor was investing heavily in back in the day. But it turns out that if you give the text generator the ability to use text generation to find text, it's actually pretty good at it. So once we gave our agents terminal access, they could find a lot more. And we started to train the AI models to know how to use the terminal to find data. They got much better at that.
Any more hyped concepts?
I would say one concept is the idea of councils, where multiple AI agents would have multiple roles or different roles, all addressing the same problem kind of in parallel. And before, they'd always kind of trip over each other, but there's a lot more patterns now with kind of advisory boards and things where you have a main worker and others researching while the main worker is going down the working path, that are becoming really powerful now. And I think there's been kind of over time, like Theo mentioned, that there are a lot of really great ideas that fell flat when we first tried them because we thought so far ahead, and we've kind of had to wait for the models to get good enough. And a lot of it is going to be, I think people are trusting sub-agents more, like orchestrating agents and all of that. And we've thought about that for a long time. It just didn't work that well before. And we're still just kind of scratching the surface of what agent orchestration looks like.
I've got a sort of along those lines is being overly prescriptive on how the agent does the work. I see this a lot where you'll have a skill or something that tells the agent exactly how it's supposed to manage those kinds of things like orchestration or that sort of thing. And I think that it's worthwhile to suggest that to the agent, but to tell it to do the work in a specific way, I think is a mistake. Also, I wanted to mention, since there's some chats about MCP being overhyped, man, that's a worst take. MCP is not overhyped. It was never overhyped. It wasn't maybe perfect. It's still not perfect, but it is the standard, and you can go and complain about it all that you want, but it is the only way to do so many really powerful things, or the very best way, especially when we talk about consumer related things where they're on their phone. They don't have a CLI that they can use. And so, no, I'm going to say MCP is, like this other person said, it's still a baby. There's still a lot more potential, and I use it like massively for Cody. It's so valuable.
Awesome. Maybe this one will be a quick one. Heather has great questions here. What's the number one biggest efficiency leap you each experienced when it came to token usage? Maybe you have some practical tips. Token usage.
Mine would be utilizing code mode within the harnesses. So that's where things like MCP, for example, instead of it essentially like loading all of the tools and like trial and erroring them, it will write itself like a little program and then like programmatically make the calls that it needs to call. So I actually did a couple of experiments with it because I'm like, am I just biased here? Like, am I really cooking? And doing like the same sort of task where you needed to like engage with other systems and call all of these tools, etc. I saw like a 52% reduction in token usage.
You are cooking, Angie. You are cooking. All right. Anyone else? Hot take on tokens?
Yeah, I would just go back to the deterministic thing. If you have a process, like lots of people, myself included, have made markdown files that are just, here's the process that you go through. And it's really cool to watch the agent like follow that process. But if you can turn that into a script, then it goes from like this big thing that it has to read and then execute with a bunch of tool calls into a single like script that it runs, and it does all of those things. And it's deterministic, so it's more reliable and everything. That's valuable. And if that's interesting to you, then you should definitely go check out Cody.codes, because that's exactly one of the primary things that Cody does for people.
I just want to say I keep preaching that message, so I'm just gonna +1 that about, and it doesn't mean you pick one or the other. Like you mix these together. Like what parts of my workflow can just be a deterministic script? Where do I need some reasoning? That's where you call an LLM.
Yeah. Yep.
I have a good one, I think. Oh, Theo, do you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I'm probably not a good one to answer this because I'm trying to burn more tokens right
Yeah.
now. I'm trying to hit the 100% on my limits. I actually find it fun that if I don't hit my token usage by like a certain time tomorrow, then all of those tokens disappear forever, incentivizing me to try to not just write a script again, but instead let the model run at 10 a.m. every day and give me an update on the PRs that I should merge and stuff like that. Like I'm trying to burn more tokens to get out of the mindset of like scarcity with it, because in the future these will be so cheap that like min-maxing how many tokens you use for a task for everything isn't going to matter as much. The consistency of the output will be what matters the most.
Yeah, that's really nice. I also want to collect all of those OpenAI statues for token burn. Okay, so there's a question. I got a question about the context switching. This is interesting, I guess. For me personally, it has gotten harder as I started spawning multiple agents and coming back to them. Therefore, switch single agent, single task. What do you guys think?
I have a lot of thoughts on this one. I've been thinking a lot about and working a lot around this recently. I think that the interfaces that we've been given are not good at encouraging you to find the work that you're working on and like separating work that's done, work that's exploratory, work that matters, and work that doesn't. I've been working hard with this in T3 code, and I've seen other players like Codex starting to take some inspiration from our work. The main thing I think matters is that threads, when they're done, really need to be out of your line of sight. If you keep things around when the work is completed, it just takes up space that is unnecessary. And the more you can get into like an inbox zero style flow, where everything visible inside of your agentic editor is everything currently working. And if it's not visible, it doesn't matter anymore. And if it's visible and it doesn't matter, you need to get rid of it. I found that I merge, like, it's not like a small difference. I'm merging 10 times more code since moving to a model like this because I'm incentivized to finish the thread. If I have a thread open, my mindset is I want it gone. I want to close it. I want it hidden. I want it archived. So how do I get this done as effectively as possible without compromising the quality of the code? And now that I've moved to this model, I find myself closing so much more work and getting much more landed.
This is my biggest complaint about Cursor, is that it doesn't do what you do. So yeah, I absolutely.
We know
and I was bringing this up to them like quite a while ago, that it's just really hard. So like to the question asker, yes, I very much relate that this is a big annoyance, and like using pinned messages is only so good. Like it's not enough. So yeah, my hope is that the tools that we use will just improve. And I think that Theo's in exactly the right direction there.
And if you wanted to experiment with your own things, you can use projects like Gene, like T3 Code, like all these other things that are open source to experiment and try your own UX to solve these problems as well. If you think that you have your own potential clever solution to try a new experience to work around these problems, now's the best time ever to experiment with it. You'd be surprised. Like a stupid YouTuber like myself was able to make real impact in the UX around these things that is now being copied by trillion-dollar companies. Anyone can make something different happen. Just gotta be experimental and play with it.
I would say there are some weird psychology hacks you can use with this, where if you give each of your sessions a different personality or different way of talking, so that when your brain is switching from one context to another and they see that character appear, it goes back to that mode of kind of chatting to that person. Again, this kind of gets into the weird space of treating agents like people. But a lot of the things are, like, I hate the moment of a long task, work in the background, work on 5 other things, and come back to that and try and like get back to where I was before. So coming up with some of the summarization prompts, as far as make sure it's really well structured, that this can be read at a glance, that this captures the before and after, that it has like even like visual diffs. There's all sorts of, if you're gonna let something run for a long time, just include at the end, the summary should be comprehensive enough that it's more at a glance, more like easy to read, and not some like something you have to scroll back through, either in the terminal or in the app. If you're finding yourself scrolling back, then that's a UX problem, in my opinion.
Okay. There's some discussion about MCPs and stuff. All right. So maybe this will show up eventually. So this comes from Mr. Clippy. That's a question. How do you guys feel about general safety of the apps created with agents without specifically saying you want them to be decently protected?
Better than you would get from a random person building it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't need to tell the agent to make it decently protected. It just does. I do occasionally, and actually, if you're concerned about this, you could just make an automation that runs an agent every day or week or whatever to just like do a security audit. So like this is the interesting thing about anytime there's a complaint about the output or whatever with the agent, you can just make another agent that like fixes that or gives you a summary. Because now we've got Fable level models and above that are really good at finding those problems. So I just throw more inference at it. I know that that's kind of a, people say that's not the solution, but it's starting to feel like the solution.
I want to challenge you all. What would the answer be? Because we've seen several questions from the audience essentially implying that, look, I don't have the inference that you all have. You know, I don't have access to Fable, and I can just run like a gazillion of these agents all day long. What's the answer for those folks?
Ox Alpha is literally free. MuseSpark 1.2 is near free. The capability of these models is insane, and they're actually better for the safety audit side because the bigger, fancier frontier models are more restricted when you ask them to look for security issues and stuff. You can find real bugs in real code with these super cheap agents. Like, it's fine. And the code that they're writing is still more secure than the code that most engineers would have written in similar scenarios, especially if it's not their like area of expertise. I don't think the you need more token burn to make secure software thing is as extreme as I was concerned it would get, simply because the frontier stuff that could hypothetically find all of these hidden deep exploits isn't really willing to do that. You're not on a much better or worse footing if you aren't burning multiple $200 a month subscriptions here, because the safety side just isn't really impacted by the major labs due to the restrictions on the models.
And I would add to, I've gotten a lot of velocity out of Grok 4.6, and it's as far as cost goes, it's quite a bit less expensive than Fable. So that's a pretty good one.
I'll give a shout out to chaos testing. Just toss your app in a sandbox and say launch 99 chaos monkeys to go press every button and tweak every knob and call every API with every type of everything. Don't tell it security. Tell it just break it in any way possible and have random number generated, all sorts of stuff in there, and to see what falls out. You'll be surprised.
We love chaos monkeys. So there is a lot of questions. We won't be able to answer all of them here, but we will be able to answer all of them during Mega. So please go check out mega.dev. I will answer some of your questions about Mega or all of them here. But for our authors, I just have one final question. Maybe they will have something interesting about the hot takes for 3 months from now and the state of AI development. Let's come on. Let's give it a try. Yep. So I thought that in 3 months it will be Mega time. So we'll tell you then.
It's so impossible. 3 months ago, I was nowhere where I am now. I can't say. I think that okay, I'll make this hot take. Most of the software I write will be from my watch, and I'll just speak what I want done. And okay, maybe not just from my watch, but from my phone, and it will mostly be through voice, like John was talking about, actually.
Only prediction I have is
I would say that the data you're willing to give up will balance out with the amount of improvements the agents can do in your life. If you just want to give it all of your health data, if you want it to track your eyes, track your sleep, track everything and just feed it all into the models and build custom things just for you. That there's going to be a lot of the custom-made software is stuff we'll be able to make for ourselves and improve our own lives. And I think we should focus on those and focus on your own communities and groups. Don't worry so much about like what Theo's doing, solving the big problem. Like people like Theo are going to solve the Theo problems. Like Kent's going to solve like the Cody problems. Don't worry too much about those because they'll be handled by people who are really passionate about them.
Yeah. I always try to advise in these scenarios, like when things are changing, that being ahead of the curve isn't that valuable. Like being present in what's going on right now matters more. Like if you had gone really far ahead a year ago, you'd be God at RAG. You would be really, really emotionally attached to the bad implementations of MCP, and you would be struggling a lot as the industry moves away from these unnecessary complexities and towards models that make more sense, both literally and figuratively. Trying to be ahead is nonsensical right now because things move so fast and AI can catch you up so fast that trying to get ahead of it is just too high a risk that you're going down the wrong path. It's better to just try and do the things that are exciting to you and build things that are fun and enjoyable for you. The only predictions I can make with confidence right now are that we will continue to get resets from OpenAI. Speaking of which, Thibaut just dropped one all of a sudden. We'll pretend that's a celebration of Mega. And the second is that the gap between the heaviest users and the biggest prompters, that like top 1% of token burners versus everybody else, is going to continue to widen. That we're going to have like certain people that have a council of LLMs that are talking like across 40 heads at all times, all days. And then there will be people who send a prompt every day or two that's like, what's the weather today?
I'll say that for many people who are likely watching, they probably work, at an enterprise company or something like that. And so you do need to kind of keep in mind what's happening in work or whatever, but you be on the forefront of like what's going on. I led AI enablement at Block. So for 3,500 engineers, there's a lot. You're going to get fatigued, right? So don't try to like take in everything, but find the things that are meaningful that could work for you in your workplace and move the company forward, I think that's a good way to kind of approach this.
Okay, guys. I think that in 3 months, the models won't be much better, but the gap between developers can be much bigger. So the bottleneck might not be the models anymore. It's how you think about the work. And that's literally why we are building Mega. So hopefully in 3 months from now, there will be a lot of Mega developers who are just on the edge of everything. So that's our time. Huge thanks to you guys, Theo, Angie, Kent, and John. Those sessions were amazing. It was great to watch and talk to you. And I will still leave for the questions regarding Mega. So you guys are very welcome to ask any questions regarding Mega that you want. I already have a list here, so I'll stay with you. But I promised our heroes to be there for 30 minutes. So we are finishing the sessions. Thank you very much, all of you. That was amazing. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you later on Mega.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Peace, thanks.
Thanks. Okay, guys, I will be answering your questions now about Mega specifically. So please ask them here. And for all other questions that you have, I will try to answer them as well. Maybe even ask our authors to help me come up with the answers. So I still have quite a lot of questions on the chat, and I will try to create an article for mega.dev that will answer all of the remaining questions for you, so that we don't leave you hanging. Okay. So the first question about Mega is, how long are the daily sessions? So with Mega, we have async course, which means that you will have, like, every day you will get a lesson, and this lesson will be a pre-recorded video from one of our authors, like Theo or Angie or John or Kent, and this will be accompanied by some, like, a text expansion of that and some examples and some challenges for you. So this will be fully async, and you can basically do it every day. We kind of try to do it so that it doesn't take more than 2 hours of your time to both learn from the lesson and also execute on the lesson. So we might try to do the lesson to be like 1 hour tops. So you will have maybe 30-minute recording and then some text and then some challenge. So you can still do it during the week, but also if you're busy during the week, you can squish it in the weekend, and you can probably do most of that during the weekend. The one time we ask you to be like, it's really worth to be there live is when we have live sessions. So every week we'll host a live session with one of our instructors, and then we do recommend you to show up because you'll be able to ask your questions. That's the only one session that we have that it's good to put it in your calendar. Unless, of course, you can't make it and you're still going to have a recording and watch it later. Then we have this question. Are the 4 weeks of the course connected in any way, or are they're mostly standalone? It's like 4 mini courses in one pack. So this is specifically why we have Adam, who is one of the best developers I know, and he's basically teaching like thousands of developers in our courses in Brave, and he is responsible for having all the structure for the course coherent and consistent. So basically, we have a special person that's only job is to basically create it so that it reads like a one course, and it doesn't have much repetition and stuff like that. So basically, we do work with our heroes so that this is a very, very connected experience, not separate 4 mini courses for sure. So, and we are working, all of them are working like hand in hand with the material. So basically, this complements one another. How much do I need to spend on AI subscription to complete the course? Yeah, we've been thinking about this. You can go as far as you want with different examples and things and skills that we'll provide within the course. But we think that one base subscription for either ChatGPT or Claude will get you in a comfortable place to basically do the basics of the challenges that we have in the course. So it doesn't require a lot. We will try to do a lot more thinking than burning tokens during the course. We will try to teach you some fundamentals and then kind of like rethink the work that we're doing more than writing more and more lines of code and using your tokens. So yes, you do need some kind of subscription, but in many ways, at least for the challenges that we'll prepare, the basic or like the second tier of subscription for either Anthropic or Cursor or OpenAI will be fine. How long it should take per day? Sorry, here. How it should take per day to follow the course. This one, I think that I already answered. I think that like the minimum is 1 hour, but in order to like really get the most of it, I think that 2 or 3 hours spent on the course material and practicing is really the way to go. And you can squeeze it in, or you can just, the best version of that is doing that daily. And we really hope that you will show up like we have in our other courses that we run. We have this 5 a.m. group of people waking up for the content. This is funny because here folks are coming from all around the world. So it will be pretty much busy during the whole day on Discord. But I really, really encourage you, and I think that you will get into it and be really happy about doing it every day. Okay, I'm seeing the promo, but I made the payment on Sunday. Yes, please, Natalia, please drop us a line at hello@mega.dev. We will help. Can you talk about the certificate process a bit more? Is it credential like... So yeah, this is interesting because we want to gamify Mega a little bit. Like I showed you, and you can see it on mega.dev, there is a bunch of skill cards that you will get, and those are 12 skill cards that you will get throughout the course. It's not for like a day or week. There will be different places in the course, and once you finish some sort of like a level that we created, you will get a skill card. So this might be on Tuesday, or you might get one skill card on Thursday in second week, or you might get even 3 skill cards all at once. It's just the thing that we make sure that the structure of the course, you are following it and you've made progress. So it's kind of like a bit gamified. You will get hints of how to get those skill cards, and at any point you'll be able to check how far along are you and what are you missing. And then once you collect all 12, you will automatically get a certificate. So it's kind of like a gamification, but also connected to the skills you get from the course, but definitely not connected to only watching and reading the lessons. Okay, do you have, sorry, this one, we already answered, I think, the tokens, how many tokens you need. So I think I already answered that. One subscription, the first or second tier will be fine. And, whoa, okay. Will we have access to the content and materials after the 4 weeks are finished? Yes, you will have the access to everything for the following year. For 12 months, we'll leave everything on for sure, maybe even more, but we can promise 12 months of hosting that for you. But I believe that 12 months from Mega, we will, if that's successful, we will probably have a second edition of Mega, and most of the stuff will basically have to re-record and rewrite because it's moving so fast now. Okay, here is the question: am I enrolled into newsletter if I registered for this seminar? No, Sasha. If you can go to mega.dev, and there is like a blue section for newsletter. Once you put your email there, you'll be signed up for the newsletter. This question, so I already answered. Okay, that's a good question. Where could I get a job after taking this course? Are these skills I can put to use right now? And the only place I've used anything like this is while working for an AI lab. No, definitely not. So all of the development work will benefit from what we prepared and creating for you at Mega. We really tried to aim for developers who are working with agents already, but want to simply get ahead and learn from practitioners like the guys we had today on the workshop. They all work with their apps, with their practical work, so they will show you everything that will help you develop. And basically, I think that this also helps, and I already know some of the content from Mega, and I'm not a developer myself, and it already helps me in my job as well, in doing my job, in producing things and creating small apps and stuff like this. It's more of like general skills that will get you ahead, but very tightly connected to programming. Okay, let me take a look at the chat. Yes, I definitely think this will be something that could be beneficial for a QA folk. And actually in the program, there is a section of how this will affect the jobs that we already do, like QA. So I think that this might be interesting. Love the challenge card. Great. Guys, if you haven't done the challenge already, because few of the folks were writing that you cannot somehow that it's still on, that the agent is still working on the challenge. So we'll give you a few more minutes for that. And if you submit the card and if you mention us on X, you'll take part in the raffle. We'll just raffle one person who gets Mega access if you do the challenge. And the challenge is on mega.dev. Search for, you can click on the journey tab and then scroll to the blue box. Then you can copy the instruction to the agent, or I will just simply copy and paste the instruction that you should post to your agent. This might take a while. It took like 5 or 7 minutes for me, and then you'll be able to upload it and share the card. And it's really good to get the card because it will be fun. There will be a lot of cards that you will be able to collect before Mega, during Mega, and even after. So not only the skill cards that we have for certificates, but a bit of gamification that will be also in the program. Okay, guys. Yeah, so look for, please look for the email. I hope that you all are all registered to this session, because to all registered people, we will send an email with the recording. It will be even better quality than this one, the stream, because we had most of the sessions pre-recorded. So we'll send you the recording. We will also send you a great bonus. The bonus is a repository accompanying all the sessions for today. So we created a special repo, and in this repo you will find some examples. We will call it Mega Drops, and we will drop this kind of content every week on Mega. So also make sure that you are subscribed to our newsletter. But for sure, if you're subscribed to the event, you will get all the information in an email tomorrow. Okay, we will also post the person that we selected. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't see any more questions, but if I missed any of the questions regarding Mega, please let me know. Oh, there's one more. Can you talk about the community for making connections as well as any program learning support throughout? So of course, we will have a Discord channel for you, and the Discord server you will all be in. So there will be plenty of knowledge exchange, and we'll have different channels, and we will probably have a lot of accompanying events. So we'll gather without our instructors, but for some hackathons and stuff like that during Mega. We usually do it with our programs. Whoever wants can join us, and we are organizing some unofficial sessions where we can meet one another and we can create something really cool. And there will be a lot of interesting folks on Discord for sure. And you'll get the access to the Discord once the cohort starts, or maybe even before. I don't know. What are the deadlines for completing the course? So after the course, to get a certificate, you will have a certain deadline. I don't know what's that exactly for now, but we usually leave like a month or even 2 months sometimes to collect all the skill cards in this case. And so you'll have time after the course to collect all the skill cards and get a certificate. And yeah, this will be 1 or 2 months, probably 2 months in this case. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I know it took forever. So don't worry if that's not finished yet. It just means that you have a lot of things to interpret, and the agent has to work a bit tougher. But it's really interesting to get those results. So I hope that you will make it, and I will just extend it for the next hour so that you guys can share it on X, because I know that not every agent finished working right now. And also, yeah, there is a surprise promo for MegaDev for those of you who joined a live session. And there will be always some kind of like cool things that we have for folks joining live. So today only, I think for 3 more hours or something like that, you can get Mega with 10% discount. Please don't treat it as something that, that's super important. That's a small discount, but hopefully encouraging. But you still have time, like a week, to decide to get Mega with the lowest price that we have. And then the price goes up. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this session. I loved seeing all of your comments and every one of you. And I can only imagine how amazing Mega will be with all of you guys on board and a lot more people, because a lot more people are coming as well. And I want to thank you for your time. I hope that you learned something useful. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at any point. Please check mega.dev. There is all the details there. Thank you so much for today. And I hope to see you on our next event. Bye-bye.
This is for you, the one who stayed late until it finally worked, who shipped it, watched it break, and fixed it before anyone woke up, who built things nobody asked for, just to know if you could. You learned to think in systems. You cared about details no one would ever see. And then, almost overnight, everything changed. The machines write the code now, faster than any of us can read. Some call it the end of the story. We call it the best beginning there's ever been. Because the problems got bigger, the ambitions got wilder, and someone still has to imagine, to judge, to care. Someone has to take all this power and build the digital world we actually want to live in. That someone was always you. You just needed the moment. This is it. It's time. It's time to rethink everything.